You're listening to The SpoonFull Show, the podcast that brings strength, humor, and heart to the chronic illness community. I'm your host, Rachel, and every week we'll dive into real-life Spoonie stories and practical insights to help you feel less alone and more empowered. Together, we'll take on this journey one spoon at a time. Welcome to The SpoonFull Show, formerly SpoonFull of Strength. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. So for the SpoonFull Show, I decided to do a preview episode since we've made some changes to the podcast, and I'll explain those in just a little bit. But for those of you who haven't followed the SpoonFull of Strength podcast, welcome. My name is Rachel. I'm a 48-year-old mother of 3 boys and soon to be daughter-in-law. I have 2 basset hounds, one of which is my silent co-host sitting beside me here. He's with me every time I podcast. His name is Murray. You'll also hear me call him Merman, which is our little nickname for him. So if you hear little woofs or anything in the background, that's my Merman. So he's going to be my co-host for today. I have been married to my wonderful husband, Ed, for just over 25 years. And I have been a type 1 diabetic for over 25 years. And I also have multiple sclerosis, and that's just coming up on its 10-year anniversary. I also deal with a lot of unknowns with my chronic illness, some other things that are brewing, some symptoms that could be other things, and just dealing with the struggles and the frustration of figuring out if this is something else or if it's related to the things that have already been diagnosed. I started SpoonFull of Strength about 1.5 years ago. I didn't know anybody with a chronic illness. I felt very lonely and wanted to connect with people who could experience the same things that I do on a daily basis. So I created the SpoonFull of Strength Instagram page to find other people with chronic illness, not necessarily MS or type 1 diabetes, but anybody that was dealing with the daily struggles of chronic illness. I also opened up an Etsy shop called SpoonFull of Strength, where I have merchandise for people with chronic illness, some uplifting things, some funny things in there. And shortly after I opened the Etsy shop, I was like, could this be something even more? Like, how do I communicate beyond Instagram posts and reels with a chronic illness community? And then I talked with my sister-in-law, Tina, and asked her to join me on a podcast. And throughout the journey, we ended up having almost 70 episodes, and we really enjoyed doing the podcast. And by the way, this podcast is going to be on the same channel. So if you haven't listened to the older episodes, you can go back and listen to the episodes with Tina and I. But once we finished up on this last season of SpoonFull of Strength, Tina had decided that she had to step back. She has so much going on. And if you have gotten to know Tina through the podcast like I have, she's so generous with her time. And I think she was realizing that she was extending herself pretty thin, which those of you with chronic illness know that you can only be pulled in a certain number of directions before you're taking away from your health. And so every season, Tina and I would meet and talk about, are we ready for another season? Can we do this? What do we want to do? And the conversation became that Tina needed to step away, which kind of opened it up to me as far as, do I continue this work that we started? I didn't want to continue it unless I felt like there was a good need for this communication for people with chronic illness. So that's where the SpoonFull of Strength has now turned into the SpoonFull Show. And the SpoonFull Show is going to be a little bit different. The episodes are going to be a little bit shorter in length, but who knows? We may get off into great conversations, but I'm hoping that they'll be a little bit shorter in length. So the SpoonFull Show is not going to be the Rachel Show. I am not up for having a whole half hour, 45 minutes of me just sitting here talking to you. I think I would even get get bored with that. But we're going to have two different types of episodes. We're going to have one type called Spoonie Chats, where I'm going to invite a Spoonie to come in and co-host with me. For this season, I'm bringing back Spoonies that were on the SpoonFull of Strength podcast at some time. So you might have heard of them. And if not, you can go back and listen to their episode and get to know them a little bit more. In seasons going forward, I want to bring in new Spoonies to get them to talk a little bit about the important topics that affect their life. I also have episodes called Spoonie Insights, where I'm going to bring in doctors and authors and experts to talk a little bit and give us a little bit of knowledge about things for chronic illness. I'm so excited because I have a doctor coming in to talk about sleep wellness. I have a doctor coming in to talk about the root causes of fatigue. I have some therapists coming in to talk about mental health and relationships. And so it's really going to be exciting to have some knowledgeable guests on as well. So these episodes are going to be filled with great information, some great Spoonie co-host, and I'm really looking forward to it. So what are you expecting from SpoonFull of Strength? Well, my wish is to be able to give you a little bit of hope, some inspiration, some knowledge. And those are the three things that I've kind of put on my list. And I want this podcast to be something that could give you some hope, maybe some new ideas to tackle of some of the challenges that you may have, some inspiration from our Spoonies on what they've been through and honest conversations with them, and then the knowledge from our experts to be able to help maybe in certain areas that we're struggling with. And as a side note, you may think, well, why you? Why are you the one that's bringing this to us? And I have been a Spoonie for over 25 years, and I've been through the medical gaslighting. I've been through the 6 years it took to get my MS diagnosis. I've been through the lab work coming back fine. I've been through the mental health struggles. And so while I may not know everything that you're feeling, I may have a concept of what's going on in your world. And so my ultimate goal is just to build a community so that you're not alone, that no matter what your diagnosis is, we are all in this bubble of chronic illness. And we all understand the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows and the good days and the flare days. And we all know this. And so let's band together and support each other through this. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to this preview episode of the SpoonFull Show. I hope that you'll continue to listen as we have some great episodes coming up in the next weeks and months. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the follow button for our episodes and make sure to leave a comment or review. Let us know what you're thinking. Let me know if there's something that you agree with, something that hit you hard and helped you out in this journey. And let me know if there's something you disagree with. And maybe you can be a Spoonie to come in and talk about it. If you haven't already, follow the Instagram page of SpoonFull of Strength. That is SpoonFull with 2 L's. And on the Instagram page, you'll see upcoming clips of the shows before they air, some inspirational posts, some funny reels, and you can find this community that I love so much. It's called SpoonFull of Strength. Next week's episode is going to be fabulous. I'm bringing in a special co-host from episode 47 of the SpoonFull of Strength podcast. Her name is Em. Em had a stroke at the age of 26, which left her with deficits on one side. And we're going to talk about being too young to feel this old. And for those of you who love country music, I think there was a song, I think it was Garth Brooks, that was, I'm much too young to feel this damn old. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Her being in her late 20s, me in my mid 40s, mid to late, let's be honest here, talking about how our bodies are feeling a lot older than we actually are. And it's especially interesting to hear it from someone in their 20s and how that makes her feel and some of the things she's encountered. So it's going to be a really good episode on Wednesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Our old episodes were posted on Tuesday. The SpoonFull Show is now going to be on Wednesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you're excited for the first season of the SpoonFull Show. And remember, no matter what today looked like, tomorrow brings new spoons. Just take it one spoon at a time. Take care. Thank you for listening to the SpoonFull Show. Follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. Leave a rating, review, and comment. Connect with me on Instagram at SpoonFull of Strength and TikTok at spoonful.of.strength. Remember, that's spoonful with 2 L's. Shop customized t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mugs, and more on our Etsy shop at spoonfulofstrength.etsy.com and use code PODCAST for 20% off your entire cart.